Inside Sing Correctional Facility, New York. Historic prison, modern money machine. Sing Correctional Facility is one of the most famous prisons in American history. Built in the early 19th century along the Hudson River, it has housed some of the nation's most notorious inmates and executions. But behind the legends and stone walls lies a modern reality driven by budgets, contracts, labor costs, and taxpayer money. This documentary examines how a historic prison became part of a contemporary correctional economy, where the flow of money quietly shapes daily life, policy decisions, and power inside the walls, according to public records, government budgets, and investigative reporting. The prison that never stopped earning. They call it one of the most famous prisons in the world. Not because of where it stands, but because of what it costs. On the eastern bank of the Hudson River, about 30 miles north of Manhattan, the walls of Sing Correctional Facility rise from the shoreline like a relic from another century. Stone blocks. Narrow windows. Guard towers that once symbolized fear, punishment, and finality. For nearly 200 years, Sing has represented the hard edge of American justice. But here is the part most people never hear. Sing never stopped making money move. According to New York State budget records and Department of Corrections reports, Sing is no longer just a prison, it is a financial engine. Every year, tens of millions of taxpayer dollars are allocated to keep this single facility operating. Staffing. Healthcare. Maintenance. Utilities. Security contracts. Overtime. Pensions. Vendors. Repairs to infrastructure that was already old before electricity became standard. This is not a story about a riot. This is not a story about a single crime. This is a story about how punishment became an operating expense. Sing was built in 1826 using inmate labor, a fact documented in historical records. Prisoners quarried the stone that would later confine them. From the very beginning, money and incarceration were intertwined. Labor reduced construction costs. Discipline increased productivity. The prison paid for itself, at least on paper. Nearly 2 centuries later, the math has changed, but the logic hasn't. Today, Sing operates as a maximum security prison under the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. It houses hundreds of incarcerated men, guarded by a workforce that, according to union data and state payroll disclosures, costs taxpayers millions annually in salaries and overtime alone. Correction officers at Sing can earn 6 figures with overtime, a figure confirmed in multiple news investigations into New York prison staffing costs. Overtime is not an accident. It is a feature. Reports from the New York State Comptroller have repeatedly flagged correctional overtime spending as excessive across the system, with Sing frequently cited due to staffing shortages, mandatory shifts, and aging infrastructure that requires constant supervision. Locked gates fail. Surveillance systems glitch. Boilers break. Every failure requires more labor. Every hour costs money. The prison's age is part of the problem, and part of the business. Sing was never designed for modern incarceration standards. Its electrical systems, plumbing, and housing units require continuous maintenance. According to state capital improvement plans, millions have been spent simply to keep the facility functional. Not expanded. Not modernized. Just operational. And once a prison reaches that point, closing it becomes politically dangerous. Closing a prison does not just free inmates, it disrupts budgets, jobs, contracts, and local economies. Sing employs hundreds of workers from surrounding communities. Their salaries support families, mortgages, and tax bases. Vendors supply food, medical equipment, uniforms, cleaning chemicals, and security technology. Every contract has a beneficiary. Every beneficiary has influence. This is where history collides with modern finance. Sing once housed New York's electric chair. Executions were conducted here until 1963, when the state effectively ended capital punishment. That chapter is over, but the infrastructure of control remains. And control is expensive. Healthcare alone consumes a massive share of the budget. According to public healthcare expenditure reports, incarcerated individuals cost significantly more to insure and treat than the general population due to chronic illness, aging inmates, and security requirements. Every hospital visit requires transport officers. Every specialist appointment requires clearance. Every prescription is part of a state-negotiated pharmaceutical contract. The bill always comes back to taxpayers. Food is another line item few people question. According to procurement records and investigative journalism, New York contracts with large-scale food service providers to supply prisons like Sing Sing. These contracts are often awarded to the lowest bidder, raising recurring concerns about quality, waste, and cost efficiency. When food quality drops, complaints rise. When complaints rise, oversight increases. Oversight costs money. Even silence costs money. Security systems, cameras, locking mechanisms, alarm controls must function 24 hours a day. Many of Sing Sing's systems are layered over decades-old architecture, requiring custom retrofits rather than off-the-shelf solutions. According to capital project disclosures, this makes upgrades significantly more expensive than building new facilities elsewhere. Which raises an uncomfortable question often buried in budget hearings. Why keep Sing Sing open at all? The answer, according to policy analysts and correctional experts quoted in news reports, is not about efficiency. It is about inertia. Once a prison exists, it develops gravity. Closing Sing Sing would require relocating inmates, reassigning staff, renegotiating union agreements, terminating vendor contracts, and confronting local political backlash. Every step has a cost, financial and political. So the state does what institutions often do. It keeps paying. Year after year. And the money keeps moving. Inside Sing Sing, daily life is shaped by this economic reality. Educational programs exist, but funding fluctuates. Rehabilitation initiatives come and go depending on grants. Maintenance backlogs grow because capital funds are finite. Decisions are made not only on safety or justice, but on spreadsheets. This is not speculation. According to legislative budget analyses, correctional funding in New York is often reactive rather than strategic. Responding to lawsuits, federal compliance requirements, or crises rather than long-term reform. And lawsuits matter. Court filings over the years have forced the state to address medical care standards, housing conditions, and accessibility issues. Each settlement or consent decree triggers new spending. Compliance requires contractors. Contractors require oversight. Oversight requires administrators. The machine feeds itself. Sing Sing's reputation masks its reality. To the public, it is a symbol, a place mentioned in movies, books, and headlines. To the state, it is a line item. To vendors, it is a guaranteed client. To employees, it is a paycheck. To taxpayers, it is an obligation few ever see itemized. And this is just one prison. According to state data, New York spends billions annually on corrections. Sing Sing is not the largest facility, nor the newest, but it is one of the most expensive per inmate due to age, location, and staffing intensity, according to comparative analyses by criminal justice policy groups. The Hudson River flows quietly past its walls, unchanged. But inside, the cost of keeping history alive grows every year. This is not a story about good or evil. It is a story about systems. And in the chapters ahead, the numbers will get bigger, the incentives clearer, and the question harder to avoid. At what point does a prison stop being a place of justice, and become a business too costly to shut down? Follow the budget, not the bars. The easiest way to understand Sing Sing Correctional Facility is to stop thinking about cells and start thinking about spreadsheets. Because prisons do not survive on concrete and steel alone. They survive on appropriations. Every year, long before a single door locks for the night, Sing Sing's future is decided in budget hearings far from the Hudson River. Windowless rooms. Fluorescent lights. Line items debated in neutral language that hides their consequences. According to New York State budget documents, correctional facilities like Sing Sing are funded through a mix of operating budgets, capital expenditures, and emergency allocations. Each category tells a different story. Operating budgets cover the basics: salaries, overtime, food, utilities, routine medical care. Capital budgets handle the aging bones of the prison: roofs, boilers, security systems, and structural repairs. Emergency funds fill the gaps when something breaks faster than expected, which, at Sing Sing, happens often. The prison is old. That fact alone drives costs higher every year. According to state infrastructure reports, Sing Sing's core buildings predate modern plumbing, electrical systems, and fire safety codes. Retrofitting a 19th-century prison for 21st-century compliance is not just expensive, it is perpetual. Fix one system, and another fails. Replace wiring, and you discover corroded pipes. Patch a roof, and the walls beneath it crumble. Each repair triggers a procurement process. Public bidding. Vendor contracts. Oversight committees. And once a contractor is on site, the meter is running. Money flows outward in all directions. Staffing remains the single largest expense. Public payroll records show that correctional officers, supervisors, and administrators account for the majority of Sing Sing's annual operating costs. Base salaries are only the beginning. Overtime, according to multiple audits by the New York State Comptroller, routinely pushes total compensation far beyond initial projections. Mandatory overtime is often justified as a safety necessity. Staffing shortages, sick leave, training requirements, and court appearances pull officers off the floor. To maintain legally required staffing ratios, remaining officers are ordered to stay. Each extra hour costs more than the last. Overtime becomes normalized. Budgeted. Expected. And once it's expected, it's defended. Unions representing correctional officers have consistently argued, in public statements and contract negotiations, that overtime reflects chronic understaffing rather than abuse. Legislators face a dilemma: hire more staff, which increases pension liabilities and long-term costs, or continue paying overtime, which inflates annual budgets but avoids permanent expansion. Both options cost money. Neither reduces spending. Healthcare is the second major driver. According to Department of Corrections healthcare expenditure reports, incarcerated populations require disproportionately high medical spending. Chronic illness, mental health treatment, and aging inmates increase costs dramatically. Sing Sing, like many older prisons, houses individuals serving long sentences, some decades long. Older inmates mean higher medical bills. Every clinic visit requires security staff. Every outside hospital trip requires transport officers and coordination. According to court filings and prisoner healthcare lawsuits, delays and denials of care have led to costly legal settlements and mandated reforms. Each reform adds staff, contractors, or equipment. Healthcare contracts are negotiated at the state level, often with private providers. These agreements are complex and, according to investigative reporting, difficult to audit fully. Services are bundled. Costs are projected. Actual expenses fluctuate. The difference is absorbed by the budget. Food seems simple. It isn't. Procurement records show that prison food contracts prioritize volume and cost efficiency. Calories per dollar. Shelf life. Storage logistics. At Sing Sing, meals must be delivered, stored, prepared, and served under strict security protocols. Each step adds labor. Each failure, spoilage, contamination, shortages, creates waste. Waste costs money. When food quality drops, complaints increase. Complaints lead to inspections. Inspections lead to corrective actions. Corrective actions lead to new contracts or penalties. Every layer adds cost without improving outcomes. Then there is maintenance, the silent drain. Sing's maintenance budget is not a single line item. It is spread across dozens of categories: plumbing, electrical, heating, ventilation, masonry, fencing, locking mechanisms, surveillance systems. According to capital planning documents, many systems are past their intended lifespan. When a modern prison is built, maintenance is predictable. When a historic prison is kept alive, maintenance is improvisational. Custom parts. Specialized labor. Emergency repairs performed under security constraints. Contractors working alongside armed staff. Projects that take weeks instead of days because work can only occur during certain hours. Time is money. Security technology magnifies the problem. Modern surveillance systems must interface with old architecture. Cameras installed in stone corridors require drilling, reinforcement, and custom mounting. Cabling must be hidden or armored. Control rooms must be upgraded without disrupting operations. Each upgrade is justified as a safety measure. Each carries a price tag. According to state capital expenditure reports, millions have been spent over the past decades to modernize Sing incrementally. Not enough to transform it. Just enough to keep it open. Why not close it? That question appears regularly in policy discussions and media commentary. And every time it does, the same obstacles emerge. First, capacity. Closing Sing would require relocating hundreds of inmates to other facilities. Other facilities are already operating near capacity, according to correctional system data. Building new prisons costs hundreds of millions up front, even if they save money long term. Second, labor. Sing's workforce is unionized. Closing the prison would trigger layoffs, transfers, and pension implications. Labor agreements make rapid closures legally and politically complex. Third, politics. Sing is located in a community that has grown around it. Jobs. Local spending. Tax revenue. According to regional economic studies, prisons often become economic anchors in their areas. Removing them creates backlash. So the state continues to pay. The money does not move because the prison works well. It moves because stopping it would cost more, at least in the short term. Inside the prison, this financial reality shapes daily decisions. Programs compete for funding. Educational initiatives depend on grants that can disappear without warning. Maintenance is prioritized based on risk, not comfort. According to oversight reports, some repairs are delayed until failure is imminent because budgets cannot cover everything at once. This creates a cycle of crisis management. Fix what breaks. Ignore what hasn't, yet. Crisis justifies emergency spending. Emergency spending bypasses long-term planning. The system lurches forward. Even reform costs money. When investigations expose deficiencies, whether in healthcare, housing conditions, or accessibility, the response is rarely closure. It is investment. New contracts. New oversight bodies. New compliance mechanisms. Each reform adds layers without removing old ones. This is how institutions grow heavier over time. Sing's reputation as a historic prison masks its transformation into a modern cost center. It is no longer defined by the crimes of those inside, but by the expense of containing them. According to criminal justice economists cited in policy journals, prisons like Sing persist not because they are efficient, but because they are embedded in financial ecosystems. Budgets create incentives. Incentives create stability. Stability resists change. From the outside, the walls look permanent. Inside the budget, they are justified every year anew. And as long as the numbers add up, on paper, the prison remains. In the next chapter, the focus shifts again. Away from budgets and into the quieter economy inside the walls. Labor. Programs. Services. The ways incarceration itself generates value, according to records and reports, long after the public stopped looking. Because the money doesn't just flow into Sing Sing. It circulates within it. The economy inside the walls. Inside Sing Sing Correctional Facility, money does not disappear once it crosses the gate. It changes form. To the public, incarceration looks like an endpoint, a person removed from society, placed behind walls, and forgotten. But according to public records, oversight reports, and investigative journalism, Sing Sing functions less like a sealed container and more like a closed-loop economy. Labor, services, incentives, and scarcity all exist here. And where those exist, value follows. This is not theoretical. It is documented. Incarcerated labor has been part of Sing Sing since its founding. In the 19th century, prisoners quarried stone and manufactured goods sold to the state. That system has been rebranded, regulated, and restricted over time, but it has never vanished. Today, according to New York State Correctional Program records, incarcerated individuals at Sing Sing work in kitchens, maintenance crews, laundry services, libraries, and educational programs. Some participate in state-run industries that produce goods or provide services for other government institutions. The wages are legal. They are also minimal. Pay rates, confirmed by Department of Corrections documentation, often range from a few cents to a few dollars per hour. These wages are credited to inmate accounts, from which deductions may be taken for restitution, court fees, or mandatory savings. This is framed as rehabilitation. And in many cases, it is. But it is also cost control. Every task performed by incarcerated labor is one not performed by an external contractor. Every meal prepared internally reduces vendor costs. Every cleaned corridor lowers maintenance expenses. The savings do not appear as profit in the traditional sense. But they reduce expenditures. And in government budgeting, reduced expenditure is functionally the same thing. The prison saves money by operating itself. Programs inside Sing Sing are often praised in media reports. Educational initiatives. Arts programs. Debate teams. Rehabilitation workshops. According to news coverage and nonprofit evaluations, some of these programs genuinely reduce recidivism and improve outcomes. But even these programs have an economic dimension. Funding is inconsistent. Many rely on grants, private donations, or temporary budget allocations. When money dries up, programs shrink or vanish. According to oversight testimony, decisions about which programs survive are often influenced less by outcomes and more by cost efficiency. Cheap programs last longer. The commissary is another quiet economy. According to correctional policy documents, incarcerated individuals may purchase approved items. Food, hygiene products, writing supplies, from prison commissaries using funds in their accounts. Prices vary by facility. Investigative reporting has repeatedly questioned markup practices, noting that commissary items often cost more than comparable products outside prison. The revenue does not go directly to the prison as profit, according to official statements. It is typically routed into inmate welfare funds or operational accounts used to support programs. But critics argue that the system effectively shifts costs onto incarcerated people and their families. Families pay to supplement what the prison does not provide. Phone calls and communication services are another major expense. According to court filings and media investigations, private telecommunications companies contract with state prisons to provide phone and video services. Rates have historically been high, though recent reforms have capped some costs. Still, communication remains a revenue stream. Each call costs money. Each minute generates billing. According to reports from advocacy groups, families of incarcerated individuals often bear the financial burden, transferring money into inmate accounts to maintain contact. This is legal. It is regulated. And it is profitable. Inside Sing Sing, scarcity drives spending. State-issued supplies are basic. Anything beyond that, extra food, better hygiene products, writing materials, must be purchased. According to correctional policy, this is intended to maintain order and fairness. But scarcity also creates dependence. Dependence keeps money moving inward. Healthcare intersects with this internal economy as well. While basic care is provided, incarcerated individuals may still pay co-pays for certain services, according to state regulations. These amounts are small individually, but multiplied across a population, they offset administrative costs. Nothing is free, not even inside a prison. Time itself becomes currency. According to correctional program descriptions, participation in work and education can earn good time credits that reduce sentences. These credits are regulated by law, but their administration requires staff, oversight, and documentation. Managing time reductions is labor-intensive, and therefore costly. Paradoxically, the more efficiently a prison rehabilitates, the fewer inmates it houses long-term. But fewer inmates can mean reduced budgets. According to policy analysts, this creates a structural tension. Success threatens funding. No one states this openly. It does not need to be said. The system rewards stability, not resolution. Sing Sing's internal economy also includes compliance. Inmates who follow rules gain access to better housing, more programs, or work opportunities. This reduces disciplinary incidents, which reduces litigation risk, which reduces emergency spending. Compliance saves money. Discipline costs it. Every incident triggers paperwork. Investigations. Hearings. Sometimes lawsuits. According to court records, use of force cases and medical neglect claims have cost states millions in settlements over the years. So prisons invest in compliance mechanisms, not purely for morality, but for cost containment. Even silence is managed. Mental health services are both necessary and expensive. According to public healthcare reports, prisons house a disproportionate number of individuals with mental illness. Providing treatment reduces self-harm, violence, and liability. Failing to provide it increases all three. Treatment costs money. Lawsuits cost more. Inside Sing Sing, every decision balances human needs against financial risk. And risk is quantified. Administrators track incidents, staffing ratios, overtime hours, medical referrals, grievances. These metrics feed into budget justifications. According to legislative testimony, facilities that appear stable are easier to fund. Stability becomes a performance metric. The prison does not need to be good. It needs to be predictable. Outside the walls, this internal economy is invisible. Taxpayers see a number in a budget document. Inside, that number determines daily life. Who works? Who waits? Who gets care now versus later? This is not corruption. It is structure. And structures persist. The men inside Sing Sing live within this system. Some navigate it skillfully. Others are crushed by it. According to first-hand accounts published in investigative pieces, Understanding the Informal Economy, who controls access to work, information, or favors, can be as important as understanding the formal rules. Information is power. Power has value. Guards control access. Inmates trade favors. Programs compete for funding. Vendors compete for contracts. Everyone operates within constraints defined by money. This is the part rarely shown in documentaries. Not violence. Not riots. Not escapes. Budgets. In the next chapter, the lens widens again, beyond Sing Sing itself. To the contractors, vendors, and industries that profit quietly from incarceration. To the external economy that depends on prisons staying open. Because the most important money connected to Sing Sing may never enter the building at all. This story is a dramatized adaptation inspired by real events. Some names, places, and details have been changed for privacy.